Hello everyone, welcome back to the Balanced Business Coach. My name is Toni Robinson and today we are thugging it out, okay? I have a broken nail. I am in my car in my garage because we have an alarm that's going off, like a fire alarm, like that beeps, every few minutes. And I'm not about to edit that out and re-record every single time it beeps. So we are here in the car where it's quiet, where it's peaceful, and we're just going to record. We're going to do this. Maintenance hasn't come yet to fix it. We already tried to put a battery in. There is no battery. Didn't know that was the thing, but here we are. So today we're going to be talking about people pleasing. We're going to be talking about the causes of why people become people pleasers, what it looks like to be a people pleaser in the workplace, and some ways that you can kind of overcome those tendencies. So first, to kind of get into what is people pleasing, if you've been following me for a while, or if you know my journey, people pleasing was a huge reason behind my burnout. It's also a lot of the reason why my clients and people that I'm very close to experience burnout. So this is, I think, a lot more prevalent for people than we realize. I know for myself, I never thought I was a people pleaser because I wasn't timid, I wasn't shy, I wasn't afraid to speak my mind. But at the end of the day, I wasn't putting my needs before the needs of others. And it affected my mental health, my physical health, and it just burned me out. Once I really started to identify with some of the other symptoms or behaviors of a people pleaser, I realized that that was what dug me in such a deep hole at my workplace and my relationships too. Like, I've been through a lot of really traumatic relationships where my people pleasing got me into situations that I really shouldn't have been in. So with all of that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so first I want to start with what is people pleasing. Define it for us. So people pleasing at its essence is pushing your feelings and needs aside to accommodate the needs of others. It's really about putting a focus on other people before yourself that has a long-term negative effect on you. A lot of times people pleasers need you to need them. So they will create things that only they can do, or that they are expertise at, or that you don't want to do. They will find themselves in situations where other people need them around so that it's like a protection. They don't feel like, oh, this person's gonna abandon me, or oh, this person will continue to need me around or like to be around me because I can do something for them. And really, it's that need for validation, that need for praise that keeps them going and keeps the cycle of people pleasing going. A lot of people pleasers have a fear of rejection. They have a fear of failure. So they feel like if they say no, or if they don't do X, then you won't want to be around them anymore, or you won't employ them anymore. They feel like their value is based on their saying yes to whatever is being asked of them. So some people might think like, well, what's wrong with that? Like, why would it be a bad thing that people care about others first or put others before themselves? And it's not that it's a bad thing that you care about others or that you put their needs above yours. But when it comes to a certain point, if it is affecting your life negatively, if it's causing you stress, if it's causing you physical, mental, emotional harm, then it's too far. It's too much. You need to have an extent to which you are going to care about the needs of others, but you always have to care for yourself and fill up your own cup first. So some other things that people pleasers tend to do is they might say sorry a lot. They feel valuable when they comply with others. They might even like make a lot of excuses for other people, like taking up for them in ways that other people are kind of questioning, but they want to like have your back, because like if a people pleaser has your back, you'll want to keep them around longer, is kind of the thought process. And just to be clear, like this process is not always conscious. In fact, most of the time it is a very subconscious thing. So a lot of people aren't going to work like, oh, I just want everybody to like me. Sometimes these people are extremely well liked without being needy or the typical like clingy type of thought that you might have when you think about somebody who wants to be liked, who wants to please others. These people aren't necessarily like that. These people are probably some of the most outwardly confident, high-achieving people, but there's this underlying tone of, if I let this achievement go, if I let this facade of being so confident and so friendly and just fun to be around, if I let any of that go, people won't like me. People won't want to be around me. People won't want to work with me anymore. I might lose my job. That is really the essence of people pleasing. Okay, so where does this stem from? It stems from trauma from your childhood. If you grew up in a home where you were either ignored or constantly seeking the validation of your parents, or you were only given attention and praise when you did a good job, that is an environment that breeds a people pleaser. Also, people with low self-esteem, if they've had someone who's really broken down their self-esteem in their past, whether it's a past relationship or family, friends, anything like that, they are going to be seeking outward opinions to validate that they are worthy and that they are of high value. Some people are just like afraid of conflict. So if you are afraid of other people, if you're afraid of their reactions, that can cause you to do people-pleasing behaviors. Another one is dependent personality disorder. And this is when it's not necessarily that you like are dependent upon other people in the way that like codependent relationships are. It's more about like needing the opinions of others or the direction of others before you will make decisions for yourself. So not even in the workplace, but like if you can't decide on where you want to go to dinner because you're considering the needs of everybody else who is going to dinner too, and you're like, I don't want to say anything in order to like make other people feel awkward, or like I don't want them to say no to me, I don't want to look stupid. Or if it's like a situation of I don't want them to put themselves in a situation where they don't want to go to the restaurant that I'm choosing, so I'm just not going to choose anything so that they don't feel like they have to go to the restaurant that I'm choosing. Does anyone relate to that? Like that is like me. And I did not realize that that was like a part of people pleasing, but like holy I totally do that. I remember a couple of months ago, we were trying to come up with the menu for Christmas dinner at my parents' house. It was the first time we had been home in like 4 years for Christmas. And when we went, I felt so paralyzed by needing to choose like what we should have for Christmas dinner. And I was just like, well, what is this person going to think about it? Or what if this person thinks that I'm doing too much? Or what if this person thinks that like they don't like that type of food? I was so just paralyzed by that. And I kept asking everybody around me, like, do you think this would be okay? Is this going to be all right? Do you think that's too much? Instead of just being like, this is what we're going to do, I'm going to cook it, it's going to be great, I was like totally freaking out about how others were going to perceive me and perceive the dinner. So anyway, I know that's kind of like not relevant to work, but just thinking about other ways that this might show up in your life, because a lot of the tendencies and habits and behaviors that we have in one area of our life are going to carry through other areas of our life. So it's important to start to identify those patterns in other areas too, because you don't want, if you really want to get to the bottom of something, if you really want to heal something, you want to heal it all. You don't want to just focus on at work. Let's just fix the issue, right? So anyway, a couple of other things that might cause this is sexism. So a lot of people find that women tend to be more prone to people pleasing, probably in the workplace, because they want to fit in. They want to be respected. They don't want to be looked at as like a burden in the workplace. So they will often take on more and more and more to provide bigger value than their male counterparts so that they can receive the level of praise that they get, which is sad. And then the last one is cultural and societal influences. So depending on where you grew up, what your background is, this can also lead to you being a people pleaser. A lot of cultures and different societies, different time periods have really placed a lot of value on women being polite and being kind and being like just pleasing to people. You have to be the one who is a yes person and I'll do whatever for you. That kind of energy is what they wanted from women. And women didn't have a voice. And so it makes sense that even when we get a voice, we still have this underlying feeling of like, but if we say no, what happens? So a few ways that this shows up at work. This could be taking on projects that you have no business taking on. This could be agreeing to do things that you normally would say no to, but you feel like you have to say yes. You feel like you have to say yes so that it doesn't like change the other person's perception of you, or so that it doesn't like hinder you from getting an opportunity or something like that. This could also be like not speaking your mind, remaining quiet in group settings, not giving your opinion just to like avoid conflict or to keep yourself under the radar. You don't want people to be angry or upset with you, so you're just going to keep your opinions, your feelings, emotions to yourself. So if you struggle to say no at work, you might also take on like meetings that aren't necessary. You might, accept invitations to meetings that are just like, why do you even need to be there? It's a complete waste of your time, but you don't want to like ruffle feathers by declining the invite or saying, hey, I don't need to be on this meeting. I don't know what the value is of me being there. So if I'm misunderstanding something, let me know, but I'm not going to just show up to just sit there. Our time is much too valuable. Also, like agreeing to unrealistic deadlines, or also agreeing to meet unrealistic deadlines. So if you're taking on projects or assignments that are just totally beyond what you are able to physically do within your normal work schedule, you don't need to take that on. And no one should be expecting you to take that on. So something to note is like, when you do start to say no, or you do start to advocate for your boundaries, for your capacity at work, and people run that over anyway, or they just kind of like ignore your boundaries and they're like, no, you have to get this assignment done. No, you don't have a choice. You have to do this project. Like you might work for an employer, but you are not like owned by them. They do not control 24 hours of your day. They get 8 hours a day out of you. They don't get weekends. They don't get nights. They don't get like early fucking mornings. They get 8 hours a day from you. And if you cannot reasonably accommodate a request or a project within that 40 hours that you work a week, then you need to go somewhere, because they are not a reasonable employer. They are not a healthy employer for you. Because the other thing is, like, when you get a toxic workplace, plus a people pleaser, it is like the fucking just a recipe for disaster. The worst combination you could have. Okay, so then if you have trouble setting boundaries at work, we just talked about what happens if you have trouble saying no. The other one is just having a lack of boundaries in general. What does that look like? So that could look like engaging in work-related activities after hours, feeling like you have to go, feeling like if you don't, they're going to look at you weird. They're not going to give you that opportunity. They're not going to like want to be friends with you or like, you know, they won't be friendly coworkers rather. Another one is like an inability to stop thinking about work when you're not at work. So either you've closed your laptop, shut it down for the day, or you've left your workplace and you still just like cannot stop thinking about what you have to get done, what you said in that email, what is happening tomorrow. Let it go. You have a lack of boundaries if that is what you're experiencing. If you show up to work really early or you are constantly leaving late, especially salaried employees, I feel like we justify it sometimes, or it's like, oh, well, I'm salaried, so I'm supposed to work a little bit extra. But yeah, like you're supposed to also fucking get like other days off, or like people don't realize that salary people work way more than the 40 hours a week that they're actually paid for, and they don't balance it out. It doesn't balance out. So if you're constantly coming in early and you're constantly leaving late, and then you're coming in on the weekends as well, or getting a couple things done here and there on the weekends, like you are working too much. You're working too much. I don't care that you're salaried and that you don't have to get paid by the hour and you don't clock every single hour. I don't care that you left 1 hour early last week because you needed to take your dog to the vet. You probably put in PTO for that. And if you didn't, it still didn't equate to all of the days that you came in early, to all of the days that you left late, and to all of the weekends that you've worked and put in an email here and an email there. Stop that. If you work through your lunch, if you don't take breaks, like those are other things that you don't have boundaries for. If you're checking emails on your personal time, also lack of boundaries. So when you start to say no, or when you start to set boundaries, you are inevitably going to have some like thoughts that creep in that make you feel like, should I be doing this? Am I wrong? Are they going to hate me? Or like, what if they need me? What's going to happen if I don't? It's going to come up. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel like this is wrong because this is how you've been operating for so long, and it's gotten you to a level of success. In a way, it feels like, why would I stop doing something that's working, right? It feels like it's working for you. It feels like it's the right thing to do because you did get to XYZ position, or you do have so many people who look up to you and who want to work with you and who respect you in the workplace. So it's like, why would I want to compromise any of that, right? Like that's how it feels, but that's not what's going to happen. And if it does, again, you're not in the right place. You're not in the right workplace if they don't support you in setting healthy boundaries for your life, for your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So part of the reason why your new boundaries are going to cause this like anxiety or make you feel like you're doing something wrong is because you feel like you're taking something from someone. And in a way you are, but you're taking something back that never should have been given to them in the first place. So just remember that when you are telling someone no, it's because you never should have given them your yes to begin with. So keep that in mind. So then the last thing is not taking up space. So this could be just like not sharing your opinions at work, in group settings, deciding like that your thoughts or your opinions are stupid, they don't matter, nobody will care about them, being afraid to ask for bigger opportunities, raises, promotions, those kind of things. If you feel like you're shrinking yourself down, you're not going to ask for those bigger things. You're going to think, oh, this person deserves it more than me. Oh, I don't, like, who am I to take that? Those are the kind of things that you will think to yourself. And then also like not speaking openly or freely, or just being transparent to your colleagues or your manager about your aspirations, your goals, where you really want to go. You don't want to look stupid, and you don't want to feel like, well, what if they think that I'm like foolish for thinking that? So you may like dim yourself down so that you don't get that rejection, essentially, is where that's coming from. You may also stop yourself from like taking the lead on projects or giving a big idea that you would have to then be the lead or be the like forefront of, because you don't want to be in the spotlight. So what are the like dangers and issues with being a people pleaser? Where is this going to get you, right? So it's going to get you increased stress. It's going to cause you anxiety, because the level of work that you will have on your plate, the things that you will have to manage, the thoughts that go through your head on a daily basis are going to be stressful and anxiety inducing. Just having to think about, did I say this the right way? Did I hurt this person? Oh, shoot, I don't think I answered that email quickly enough. Oh, what if I don't get this project done on time? Let me work later. Like, that is so stressful to be consumed by thoughts like that 24/7. Even when we sleep, we wake up at 3 a.m. thinking, oh, shoot, I forgot to send that email. Y'all, this is not healthy. This is not healthy. We gotta let that go. You're neglecting yourself instead of doing something that you love, instead of taking a walk with your family, instead of going on that vacation. You are constantly throwing yourself at things for other people instead of caring for your own needs and desires. It's not even about necessarily just your needs. It's about like, what do you want too? Like, you don't have to only put yourself first when you need something. Like, you can put yourself first when you want something, and you should, because your wants and needs come before anybody else in this life. Because at the end of the day, the person who's going to be at the end of your life with you is you. And you're going to have to be the one that looks back and says, did I spend this the way I wanted to spend it? Or did I spend it how that person told me to, and that person told me to, and that person? You do not want to get there. And I don't know, because I've gotten there. I know because people tell me. And I'm not going to be one of those people. Okay? You might have like a lot of resentment built up. You might have issues with your relationships or friendships, like not being present enough, or just not even like making the time, not texting back, being in a bad mood even when you're around those people, not being able to like let the work talk go. If you are around your spouse and all you talk about is work, that is so annoying. Talk about something else. They're going to like get so tired of that. And they might like, of course, they want to like be supportive of you, and they want to like see you happy, and they feel bad that you're going through all this. But at the end of the day, if this is coming down to the fact that like you won't say no to somebody, you're also saying no to your spouse. Your yes to your boss is your no to your spouse. Your yes to your coworkers is your no to your child. So like, cut that shit out. That's not how we need to operate anymore. I've seen a lot of posts lately talking about how like the workplace is not family, and it's not. Like, as much as people want to be like close knit, and we could be like, oh, hey family, how's it going today? I'm not really like, I don't care too much. It's like semantics to me. Like, we all know we're not actually family. But at the end of the day, like, you don't owe them the same level of like, and you don't even owe your family this, but like, your family does come before, they should come before like your boss. And if they are like needing you, if they are feeling neglected by you because all you do is put your energy into work, that's something that you should really consider. Is this people pleasing thing really working for me? So, and then also just like the inability to enjoy life, inability to enjoy yourself. You've probably lost yourself. Like, do you even know what your hobbies are, what your interests are outside of work and maybe that show on Netflix? Who are you without other people telling you who to be? So, what are the typical ways that you can combat this? Well, you can say things like, I will think about it when people ask you to take on a project. If they ask you if you can attend a meeting, don't just automatically say yes or no. You can feel really anxious having to confront that, or like to automatically just start saying no to people. You're not necessarily knowing how to handle that situation like face to face with someone. So just say, hey, let me think about it. I need to check my calendar. I've got a couple things going on that day, so let me think about it and I'll send you an email or I'll call you about it later. Do that, okay? And then also schedule yourself on your calendar, because if you are a people pleaser and you are a high achiever, you probably live off of your calendar and you have to go by the book. Every single thing that you've like got on your to-do list today, you need to get done. So the best way to truly prioritize yourself is to start reminding yourself that you are a priority. So put it on your calendar. If you don't get to it today, it's okay. You have a habit of like ignoring your own needs. So give yourself grace if you move yourself down on the list a couple times or whatever. That's going to happen because it just feels natural to move yourself down, to not prioritize yourself. But make sure you keep it on your schedule daily. Something for yourself daily. Just have a block where you say me time or self-care or whatever it is that you want to do. Schedule that on your calendar every single day. Make sure you have something scheduled, and eventually your brain is going to be like, we're not getting to that. We need to prioritize ourselves. We need to get that thing done. And you will start to prioritize yourself, and then you will start to see the benefits of the prioritization. Okay? Explore your priorities, your values, your interests. If you have neglected yourself for years or like an extended period of time, it can be really hard to know, like I was saying a couple minutes ago, it can be really hard to know like what you enjoy or what you actually are interested in. So start to explore those things. Maybe in that me time, start to think about or journal on, or do some research on like, what do people do in their free time? What do I like? What makes me happy? If I could choose anything in the world to do right this second, what would I do? And then also start to identify the toxic relationships in your life. So if you have people who are not only taking advantage of your people pleasing, so like some workplaces, they're not going to tell you like, hey, stop working, but they also aren't going to be the ones who overstep your boundaries when you set them. So what I mean is if you have a workplace that is like, oh yeah, like absolutely, you're at capacity, cool, no worries, we'll find somebody else to do it, or hey, we can push this off until next quarter or whatever. That is a supportive workplace. So they may have been, elusive or just not, paying attention to the fact that you were taking on more, that you were working extra hours, but at least they are being like accepting of the new boundaries that you're setting in place. However, on the other side, if you have a workplace or a relationship in your life that when you do start to set boundaries, they are trying to push back and they're trying to like find a way to manipulate you into saying yes anyway, or they are taking away opportunities from you, or just like being a shit person, you need to get rid of those toxic relationships. So please do that. And then another thing is like, consider who's making the request. So kind of what I was saying earlier about how family is above your boss. That is a higher priority for most people, I guess, than, not for everybody, but like just consider the source of the request. So if it's your spouse or your child who has something and they're like, hey, can you please come to this thing that I have going on? And then your boss is like, hey, can you stay late today? Which one of those are you prioritizing? And is that really in alignment with your values? So you want to consider like, who is making the request and how does this impact the people who are really important in my life, the things that are really important in my life? So last thing here is, this is hard. This is a lot to process. It's a lot to like overcome by yourself. I highly, highly, highly recommend either working with a therapist or a coach like myself to help you through these people-pleasing tendencies. How can I help you? I'm so glad you asked. I work with clients one-on-one. Essentially, we have 12 weeks together. You can extend if you want to, but during those 12 weeks, we work to reprogram the beliefs and the mindset that you have about yourself and about what makes you valuable, what gives you your self-worth. We talk about your fears and your insecurities, and we reprogram your brain to believe things that are going to be more helpful instead of hurtful to you. The other thing we do is something called mental rehearsal, which is where we basically do visualization exercises for you to practice in your mind how you would handle certain situations. So we would visualize you setting a boundary. We would visualize you saying no. We would visualize you building habits. We would visualize you going on vacation. We would visualize the things that we're trying to create based on getting rid of these old habits that are no longer working for us, like people pleasing. We also would work together to discover your values, your non-negotiables, your boundaries, your interests. Those are things that we would explore together. So how I was talking about like that time every single day where you block it off on your calendar, instead of you having to show up for yourself, once a week, we would show up for each other. So you being the people pleaser, you're going to show up for me as your coach because you're like, I don't want to disappoint her. So what happens is you have this feeling of like, I need to show up to these sessions, but throughout those sessions, we're actually deprogramming that thought process altogether. And then you start to show up for yourself, not for me anymore, but for you. And I mean, initially you're going to choose this program or to work with me or a therapist because you know that's what you need for you. But initially, when you feel like pushing yourself off or you don't feel like you're worthy of spending time with yourself, what makes coaching so powerful is that there's somebody else there that you have to show up for, that you would be disappointing. You could never disappoint me, but you would be disappointing if you didn't show up, if that makes sense. So the reason coaching is so powerful for someone who is a people pleaser is because they want to please their coach. And when you're working with a coach who helps you deprogram those things, then you start to see the power of what it looks like to show up for yourself. And it's just so, so freaking beautiful. And then we also do practical tools like scheduling, routines, setting new habits, like building new habits, automation, delegation, elimination. We do these practical tools as well to free you up and to give you more capacity if that happens to be something that you are going through. So I just want to say, like, working with a coach can really speed up the process of healing from these things, of overcoming these tendencies. And I just believe that if you have someone to help you implement practices and exercises and just ways of being that you aren't able to push yourself to do on your own, having someone else there to hold you accountable, to call you out, to show you like, hey, you could have handled this in this way, to even just like spitball ideas off of or talk about like, hey, this happened this week and I felt really overwhelmed by it and I didn't want to do this, but I said yes anyway. Let's talk about that. Like, what led to that decision? What led you to that yes? And you know, at the end of the day, all I want for you is for you to find your yes, your non-negotiables, your absolutely yes, this is what I want to do, so that you can know your no. You can own it. You can confidently say it. You don't have to worry about it. It's done. No is no. And that's all there is to it. I'm not sorry about it. I don't feel guilty about it. It is what it is because I know my yes and I know why my yes is my yes. And that's the end of it. So that's what I've got for you today. If you do want to work with me, all of my contact information and information about the program is down below. I love you so, so much. And until next time, take care.